This meeting is being recorded.
Hey, hi everybody. Welcome to another Q&A for the San Francisco Green Film Festival 2024. Thanks for being here and watching. You just saw some great short films, and we are lucky enough to have four of the filmmakers here with us. Let's get to know these filmmakers and what film they are involved with. I can see that Veronica actually nicely put The Last Skier. So let's start with you, Veronica. What's your movie and what was your role?
Hi, I am Veronica Ciceri, writer, editor, and director of The Last Years. My film is about a generation of Italian skiers who have seen the slopes they learned to ski on turn into arid yellow hills because of climate change.
Fantastic. Very enjoyable film. Ivan, I got next you on my screen. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Ivan Lopez Barba from Guadalajara, Mexico. My film is Buena Noche, Good Night. And as you could have seen, it's about an astrophotographer, but most about his way of living and the bravery of living a different kind of life.
Very good. Thank you. Andrew, how about yourself? Please introduce yourself.
Hey, Andrew Cortina. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and my film is Lost Gloves. It's about my friendship with my neighbor when I lived in Oakland. And yeah, just this string of text messages we had that I thought did a lot of justice to explaining what that was like.
Fantastic. Thanks for being here. And Yesenia, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Yesenia Novoa. I'm from Mexico City. I'm the director, the writer, and the editor of The Shadow of the Palm Trees. The Shadow of the Palm Trees, it's a short film about, it's a goodbye letter for our palm trees in Mexico City. They are dying because of plague. So it's about that.
Yes, and a beautiful film. And let's start with you since we just heard from you. All of you guys use beautiful imagery, beautiful techniques to tell your story. I'll just start with that because we are on you, Yesenia. I loved like the still photos, the found footage or the old footage, historical photos, very beautifully done. How did you decide to use that technique?
Because the situation about the palm trees in Mexico City, we were trying to build like a goodbye letter because it's nothing we can do right now because all the palm trees are dead already. It's, I think, 15,000 palm trees in Mexico. They're gonna be removed from the government because we can do nothing for them. And we were trying how we can build this goodbye letter, and we need to go to the past. So we were just like talking with institutions, with libraries, like trying to figure it out how we can, and that moment, buy or found this footage. And it was like 5 or 6 months of work. And just like going to libraries in the 50s and the 60s, maybe in the 40s, and just looking around pictures and trying to figure it out, because the palm trees, it's always the background. We never thought about the trees in the city. It's just like the shade.
Why did, maybe it's covered in the movie, why are they dying? Were they not cared for?
They had a plague before the pandemic, so before 2020, but it was just the government. It was not worried about them. They were thinking that, oh, it's because they're old, because they start with this iconic palm trees we had from Reforma Avenue, that it's this big, very famous avenue in Mexico City. And that palm tree died. I think it was in 2020 or before that. And they were like, of course it's dying because it's 100 years old. Right. So of course it's because it's old.
Longer.
Yes.
The old imagery definitely captures the beauty that they provided, and as well as many other things. But let's move on to another movie. Even Lost Gloves, Andrew. Well, maybe not beautiful cinematography. There is power and some deepness in the imagery of these random gloves. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So my neighbor John and I have a kind of, I don't know, unique relationship, or we had one when I lived in Oakland, where we had this text message thread of I don't know, like YouTube videos, music, and at one point he started texting me these photos of just these gloves in the street, and I kind of didn't really respond to him in general about it. I just caught on to it, started sending him back photos of gloves also, and I don't know, there was something about it that really sort of captured what I think our relationship is
So
about.
you guys are randomly, coincidentally filming, shooting gloves that you saw on the street?
Yeah, yeah. Well, he was my neighbor, and so at the beginning of this past calendar year, I guess like 2024, I was like kind of frustrated on something else I was working on. I was like, I just need to go make something like immediately. And I was looking through my list of ideas, and one of them was just go do something about these gloves. So I texted them. I was like, yo, can I fly back out there, interview you about these gloves, chat about it, and then make a film about it? Um, and so I did that, and he was pretty happy with it. He said like
Yeah.
even I learned something from watching this video, and I was the narrator, so I felt pretty
Well,
good.
that's a good prompt for another question in just a moment. I'll come back to that. Well done. Uh, Veronica, Last Skiers.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember your movie. I just, it stuck with me. I'm a skier. And Andrew, I should also say I took random photos of the masks around San Francisco. So maybe that had something to do with it. But I was a skier, and the still imagery that you use, even though it's video of like the machinery, the ski slope machinery that is now unused, is just stuck, stayed with me. Talk about
Yeah.
that.
This is basically what inspired the documentary. My documentary practice is always related with my personal experience. I was walking around these mountains when I noticed the old ski lifts and the abandoned ski lifts. And to me, they were like a powerful image that could represent a bigger story, that could tell a bigger story about, the deteriorating environment and global warming. So in a way, I tried to collect as many details as I could. And in the end, editing was very important to create this sort of atmosphere and nostalgia that you can sense from the film.
Yeah, good word. I wrote that down in my reviews. Nostalgia. All these films have a sense of nostalgia, nostalgic sensibility to them. Maybe we'll talk about that in just a second, but I want to get to Ivan too. Um, you know, some of the imagery or the techniques that you use, just of the, I guess the cosmos, right? That your lead subject takes as a photographer, or how did you get those imageries? Was that video? Did you borrow from I forgot your lead character's name.
Yeah, it's astrophotographer that is Chino Moro, and yeah, all the photographies are from him. He took them with his telescope. And what I like about the film is that I went there very interested in astrophotography itself, and suddenly I found myself in the middle of the Mayan jungle, where he lives with his wife and his kid. And from that moment I was mesmerized, with their way of living, so close to nature, being so brave of being away, from the city. And I tried to did like an analogy of what is the cosmos and what the stars represent, and how we live down here, and the beauty of their life in the place they are living, in the middle of.
So how did your movie begin? How did it start? What was the inspiration? Like you were walking in the jungle and you met you met this family? Or how did this begin?
No, actually, Chino Moro, he was a fashion photographer, a few years back, and when I was starting, when I was in film school, I did some fashion films, and
Uh,
we worked together, and yeah, we just love to work together. He's an amazing guy, and actually, around the time that I met him, he was buying a piece of land in the middle of the Mayan jungle that everybody said he was absolutely crazy. It wasn't near Tulum or all of these places that were like a bit hip. It was really far away. There
it's
was
a radical
nothing like
change from the city life to in fashion photography,
exactly. There was no light, no water, and he built his own paradise. It's like he started working, I think, with three albañiles, as we call it in Mexico, and he started building his house. And yeah, now everybody wants a piece of that, that kind of life,
So you had his trust and you had access to his life and his family. There was no concern about getting that kind of access.
Absolutely. The trust was there, the admiration was there, and I, as I said at the beginning, I was going there for the astrophotography. I knew his house, but once I stayed there, and I had two very good night sleeps in the jungle, and I went outside and just observed the nature he's surrounded by. The idea changed a little bit.
Yeah. And other filmmakers talk about your films too. Veronica, these old skiers, these old guys that used to use the resorts when they were younger. How did you come about meeting them?
Okay, yeah. Well, I made this documentary when I was in film school last year. So we had very short time to research, direct, and produce the film. So I decided for a topic that was close to my heart, but also very close in terms of proximity. I come from a little town near the mountain where the documentary was shot. So I basically started sending messages and emails around to friends and people I knew. And then an Alpine guide suggested me to contact these guys that you see in the beginning of the film that are part of Ragni Lecco, which is an Italian mountaineering club, a very famous one. And as soon as I spoke with them, I understood that our intentions were aligned and they could work very well on screen because they had very beautiful stories to share. And then one of the women you see on screen is my aunt, and one is a friend of my aunt. So it's
And
really
then I love, didn't he loaded up a projector, a film projector, didn't he? Like somebody put on 16 millimeter film of the old ski sled.
exactly, yeah. This was quite a surprise because as you may
That was
imagine,
beautiful.
yeah, archive was so important to show the before and after. I used many visual devices to do so, but archive really gives you the sense of, it was the 60s. They were skiing and there was music around and they were having fun. They were all learning how to ski. There were many people there, a lot of snow, and suddenly it all changed in few decades. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always use the past and then try to contrast it with the present of
Yeah.
the
And,
month.
and that brings me back to nostalgia. Someone brought it up earlier in the sense of memory and stuff. Even with Andrew, with your films with the gloves, or that evoked too because there was, I looked at your film and the gloves on there's these people's hands in them. It's just they were telling stories without any movement or motion. They were powerful.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, kind of what I like about the photos is I don't know, there's not really much of a theme to them other than that they all happen to be lost. Every once in a while you see a pair, and
Right.
that's kind of special because they're together. Usually when I see a lost glove on the street, the thing that comes to my mind is it's like, one half of a thing that has lost its other half, and there's like a I don't know, like just like morbidity to it,
Right.
and to I don't know, to take a spin on that inverts that a little bit. I think it was a really fun thing for me to work on.
Hmm. Yeah. And was your subject, since you're already friends, completely cool? Was he worried at all with how it was going to turn out? That he'd be depicted as
No, he just
childish?
said, yeah, his main thing was like, don't make this about me, make this about the gloves.
Yeah.
And I
But you
feel like,
did well. You did well. You
yeah, I feel
balanced it
like
well.
we did that, and so
Yeah.
yeah, and he was happy with it. He had good things to say about it. And yeah, it's interesting because he had actually introduced himself to me at some coffee shop in the neighborhood. I don't know, like 6 years ago.
Wow.
And
Oh,
we've had
hold
a
on.
great friendship ever since. Yeah.
Very cool. What was some of the challenges? Did anyone have any challenges, particular difficulties making this? Yesenia, let's go to you. Was it just time consuming or what was the challenge?
I think we had a lot of challenge.
Filmmaking
Because
is challenging, right?
yes, everything. I think the more challenging thing it's like when the palm trees that were falling down. It was like a really emotional challenge for the team and I. Yes.
I want to point out too that was emotional for me. I mean, man, the way you did that when maybe there's more scenes like this, but that one palm tree, maybe it's your first one they showed going into the closed street, and you slowed it down maybe, but you basically went to silence with just kind of like a one note tone, right? It's just like,
Yes.
oh man, that was powerful. Well done and sad. You know, I mean, not to be a downer on this Q&A, but all these films have a little bit of sadness to them. Even yours, Ivan, but nonetheless still enjoyable and pleasurable to watch. Anyways, I cut you off, Yesenia.
Yeah, I mean, it was like really emotional because we were just like trying to got the shoot, but also like trying to hold the tears because it's like really impressive, and the sound and all the dust and all the team that were working around this palm trees like falling down. And I mean, that was one part, and the other, a lot of permissions to film the palm trees because this topic about the palm trees, it's like really new in quotes, because I think they're dying before the pandemic. I think 5 years ago the plague started, but the government, they didn't figure it out what it's going on with the palm trees, how we can save them.
Yeah.
So it was just like they're alive, they're dead, and then we're gonna remove the palm trees.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a not a secret, but not like a really one thing to show about the city.
Yeah.
So all the permissions in the streets, and they were closing streets and all the apartments around the palm trees, because this palm trees, it's in the middle of the avenue. So it's like you need to put like a really big effort to close the street and then record all the scenes and then
Right. Filmmaking
clean the
challenges, not
street.
easy.
Yes.
Ivan,
No.
what was difficult for you, or did you have any challenges, or get
You
to
know,
the
it's
jungle, or you just stayed with Chino?
yeah, I don't want to say that it's always challenging, because maybe that will change at some point, but to do a personal film, and to do something on your own, it is challenging itself, because of the budget, because of the money, or a lot of things. But leaving that aside, it was really a pleasure. It's like I got to stay in Chino's house, and since there was this confidence between us, I kind of like became invisible, which I think it's important for the film, in order
Yeah.
for you to get a glimpse of what's their life, just there.
The honesty.
And then just those challenges that I love, and that are like when you do film and art, making the connection. I think the nostalgic part of my film is the moment that you compare the stars with his family,
Yes,
and
exactly.
you get to see them like back to back, and then you understand what we're made of, and our relationship with it. So yeah, if not sad,
Yeah.
I would say it is not nostalgic, because it's also
Well,
like
maybe melancholic, right?
yeah.
It's something like that. It's beautiful, and it's just kind of soothing and calming too. But at the same time, it's like we realize that life is precious.
Exactly, and actually, melancholy was the word I was looking for,
Oh, good.
and it is a moment in time also in their lives.
Yeah.
That is not coming back. The kid is growing fast.
That right there, that you just came up. That could have been this program's title, "Moment in Time" or "Moments in Time" for all these films, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the last skiers, Veronica. There was a moment in time when there were hundreds and hundreds of ski resorts in the Italian Alps, and now what was the statistical fact at the end that how many are disappearing or being abandoned?
400 in the last decades. So
And,
it's
and snow, like then there's no more snowfall. That one shot you had where the man-made snow of the single lane ski slope on a dry mountain was just sad. Anyways, I'm inspired to keep talking. You go ahead and talk, Veronica.
Let's speak maybe about the challenge I face. I mean, the main challenge for me, I totally agree with what has just been said so far, but I don't know, probably would be the editing. Because to me, it's where the film really comes to life. And I had a lot of material despite the shooting lasted just 6 days, but yeah, editing really took a lot of efforts and energy from me because you need to place the right footage in the right part. So I experimented a lot as well.
Did you have any joy in making this? What was the joy of making it? Any highlights?
Yeah, I mean, shooting to me is the funniest part in the filmmaking process, let's say. Editing is tougher, but also like we ended up collaborating with a lot of artists. For example, one of the artists gave me the music because he felt in love with the project. So that's the bright side of being a student filmmaker with no budget, that you can always count on collaboration from other people, probably.
Yeah, that's one of the best parts, and maybe sometimes a difficult part, but one of the best parts. Ivan, what was one of the pleasures of making your film? What was a highlight?
I started when I introduced myself, I forgot to say that I'm the director, the producer, and the DP of the film.
Wow.
And when I started film school, I started as a DP, as a director of photography. And now, that I'm more like into working, I'm more focused in directing, and I left the camera aside, but since this was personal and no budget at all, I had to get a camera, and get back to the camera.
Yeah.
And it was so enjoyable. I suffer it. And when I was editing also, it's like like you messed it up, and oh my God, it's like you messed it again. But at the end of the day, it's like it worked. And it got me back to this feeling. I think all of us as filmmakers, even though if you don't do photography, you are connected to it. And just, having this apparatus, which you can take your view through it and convert it into something.
Yeah. I mean, because we could speak to. I'll go to you next, Andrew. But also, like what you're saying, Ivan and Veronica, like this is a passion project. Like you're not making this going. This is going to make $1 million, right? You're driven to finish this. Yeah, talk about that, Andrew. I mean, you're not making a film about this quirky artist that films gloves on the street to go and
Yeah, it is. It was pretty interesting working on it. I mean, I don't know. For me, this film, I like funded it myself, and it didn't really cost much to make, and it actually went pretty smoothly compared to like some of well, because it was a short film, I guess. But
Yeah.
um,
But I mean, you have to drive yourself to kind of sit down. You're driven just like you want to see this
yeah,
to the end, right?
yeah, totally. And like there were a lot of cool things about it. Like like my one friend who was my neighbor started it with all the photos he was sending me. I had another friend in New York who had just released an album that I was really into, and I used that for the music. And that kind of really just, I don't know, inspired me to get through the editing.
Yeah. What was the highlight of
Lived
the
in New York, and
process?
every morning we go on a walk. Well, maybe, like almost every morning we go on a walk. And I was like taking pictures of gloves while she was there for a few months. And people started sending me photos of gloves once they knew I was working on this. So it was just a cool way to connect with a
Yeah.
lot of friends for me also.
Yeah. Right on. Yasina, what was a highlight? What was a pleasure, a joy of making this project?
I think that the same like Andrew, when we start this project, I was receiving daily photos about these palm trees in the windows for the neighbors that were dead. And they were hey, Yesenia, we have another palm trees in this neighborhood, because we film in one neighborhood that I was living, and then in Narvarte in Mexico City, and they were just more interested about this topic. And I think the most joyful thing for me in my experience is to build this space for grief, because I think we always um, uh, we always avoiding grief and sadness, and just it's a really long and hard process. And I think with this film, it's just that space to be like really sad, and to be like saying goodbye to the palm trees. And all the voices are in the short film, they're neighbors from that neighborhood.
Wow.
So they grew up there with the palm trees. And it was just like the moment to say, okay, they're dead already, but what is next?
Yeah.
What we're gonna learn about this?
Yeah, you did it. I mean, you all did it. You all, as Ivan said, moments in time. You all captured these moments in time beautifully. We got time for one more question, and I'll either ask this or you can just say whatever you like. Did you see me on you still? Did you capture and complete and accomplish what you set out to do, and hope that audiences get the message that you wanted to convey?
Yes, definitely. I think we just the premiere was in May, and I think now we are in Mexico City, and I think a lot of people are always, every day I'm receiving these messages that, oh, it's really sad that what's happening in the city. It's a lot of trees. And I think another thing about this film, it's the footage of the past, because it's really like, it was the intention about that. It's not the present. We're not grieving about the present. It's about the past too. They were like a really symbolic thing for the city, and they're gone. So yeah, I think I'm really happy
Thank you.
with
Yeah,
this result. Yes.
good. Well done, Andrew. How about you? Did you set out what you wanted to accomplish, or
Yeah, like multiple people have said something to me like, like, and then this film is not public, but I've sent it to a few people for feedback, and probably 3 different times I've gotten the response that's something like, "This is kind of weird but cool." And I think it's because it's a pretty nostalgic thing to see a Lost Glove, especially a solo one. But to me, the film, despite that, like manages to carry this tone of hope. And I just think it's a cool contrast to put in a single film of like being able to look at these artifacts of the past and somehow still feel a sense of hope for the future. So
yeah,
yeah,
agreed. Agreed. You guys are inspiring me for more and more questions, but I could do a single Q&A with each one of you. Ivan, how about you? Any parting words? Did you capture? Did you complete what you wanted to set out to do?
Yes, I like, I like the film. I just think astrophotography, and even, my characters are so deep, and are so complex that of course there's room for more, it's like
It was fascinating. Your cinematography was fascinating, and the family was fascinating. Fascinating life to watch.
yeah, and I just think, I really wanted to inspire, somebody to think that you can live differently. It's like there's these different ways of living, or just try like different places, like little towns. You don't have to go in the middle of nowhere like Chino. But if he did it and it went out so well, it's I just think we need to have that kind of thinking
Yes,
in the way the world is today.
I
And
agree.
I think that's done by the film. I think
Yes,
you do get inspired, and also to reconnect with what's important. At the end of the day, the Chino, it's a parent that enjoys being with his kid. That they home parenting and schooling. Sorry, they homeschooling because they enjoy being with their kid. And I don't know, that there's a few glimpses of stuff that you can reflect on that I
Yes.
think
Yes.
is important.
I'm going to ask one more question. So there's two more questions, but I'll come back to all you guys. Veronica, did you realize your vision in your movie? Did you accomplish exactly what you wanted?
I think so, and it's always surprising to me with documentaries. Of course, you have an idea, but then you really need to trust the protagonist and your collaborators. And I was surprised to see that everything worked out. But as well, in a way, I made the film not only about this generation, but with these Italian skiers. And I'm also happy that now I can say I made the film for a younger generation, because it is now used in the area where I was born, as an educational tool to show how the mountain was, and also against a politician that now want to build another ski facility in the snowless mountain where I shot the documentary. So I'm happy that it's also part, let's say, of this impact campaign, and maybe it could help to protect the mountain in the future as well.
So last question, just because this is a green environmental film festival, Yesenia, I'll go back to you. Are you hopeful? Are you hopeful for the future?
Yes, I am. And I think this short film is part of that. I mean, it's sad, but with that, it's also about not the specific that, it's about what is next, what is the hope, what is the lesson about that. So I think the hope is in there, like
Good.
trying to learn about our mistakes.
Yeah. Andrew, hopeful for the future of the planet?
I think hopeful would be a little bit of a stretch for me, but one of the things I do like about this film that I made is it has a much more hopeful tone than I would normally take doing some sort of movie like this. It just kind of inspired me with I don't know, like John and my relationship with John and our relationship to the past. It seemed like there was something worth preserving there, and it's worth thinking about how to keep that stuff around.
Good word,
So
preserving. I think there's a lot of messages between the lines, whether you deliberately created them or not in your film, which is powerful.
yeah,
Ivan,
that was the idea.
yeah, well done.
Thank
Well
you.
done. Ivan, hopeful for the future?
Yes, I think I'm hopeful in the individuals. I'm hopeful in us. In people like Chino, but not in the system itself. Even though I think that the film is not against anything. I've done films in the past that are protest. I tried that way, and now I'm moving to kind of like inspiring film kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm hopeful in the people that has the possibility to change things, at least for them. And when they do it for them, they are doing it for the world. So yeah, I'm very hopeful in that.
Nice.
And at the same time, I'm critic about the system.
Yeah.
And I think the film does that in a mellow way.
Yeah, good point. Veronica, last but not least, are you hopeful for the future?
Yes, I am. I agree that as a society, we tend to avoid feelings like sadness and nostalgia, probably, but they can also be positive because they can really inspire change. And I hope that even though it's sad, my film can inspire, to protect the mountains from in the future.
Yeah, right on. Well, I'm hopeful because of you guys and you, the filmmakers, because you made such great films. Filmmakers and artists will save the world, possibly. You guys are wonderful, but that's all the time we have. Congratulations on making these films and getting into our film festival. They're wonderful films. All right, everybody, that's all the time we have. Thank you for watching. Check out more great films at sfindie.com and enjoy the rest of the Green Film Festival, 2024 San Francisco Green Film Festival. Bye, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.